A team we do not talk about a lot. We did for the first time actually earlier this week, the New England Patriots. They have some news going on, bro. Yeah. Drake May obviously starting in. This is a big change too, right? Like we talk about I think the whole theme of this show, it seems like, is like complicated scenarios you're gonna have to go through. And Drake May, obviously in super flex, you're probably desperate if you have to start him, but it does something for this offense now because under Jacoby Brissett, we knew it was very limited. We don't know what it's going to look like with Drake May. It could still be limited, but the ceiling now was a lot higher. When we talk about these receivers, right? There's a bunch of receivers on this New England team. You have Jalynn Polk, who's the rookie, second-round pick. You have Kendrick Bourne, who just came off of the PUP list, so he is now active and playing. You also have KJ Osborne, who was the free agent addition. You have Demario Douglas, who's been like the solid wide receiver, PPR, Wan'Dale Robinson type for this team. So you have four really kind of mysterious options here. And I think we can both agree, like if Drake May hits, one of these guys is going to be useful in fantasy lineups. The obvious choice here is Jalynn Polk. Talk me into why you think that is, if you agree.
I don't agree, to be honest with
you. You don't agree?
No. I like Pop Douglas. And the reason why I like Pop Douglas is, so the problem that I have with Jalynn Polk coming out of college.
Because you were a big Jalynn Polk guy.
I don't want to say I was big. I reckon I'm a bigger. All right, honestly, I'm a bigger Javon Baker. And Javon Baker must not be good or else he'd be playing here. So, yeah. But I just think like Javon Baker offered the upside because Javon Baker, in my opinion, is just the most explosive wide receiver that they have. And I think Drake May will take those kind of shots, and that's what you want. So he offers that. But for me personally, like since Javon Baker's not even suiting up, you can't pick him up. So for me, Pop Douglas. And the reason why Pop Douglas is like, okay, so talk about Nico Collins just a tiny bit. Like I liked Nico Collins a lot last year because when I do my weekly takeaways, I started to see like Nico Collins' target increase the second year, and he was out targeting Brandon Cooks for a little bit, and then he ended up getting hurt and was out for the rest of the season. But you could start to see like a mini breakout. Last year, Demario Douglas, like he was breaking out. I know it wasn't big fantasy points because it was New England, for God's sake. This team was so bad, especially passing. They were so bad last year. But he was dominating the pass. Like he was seeing a good target share. And for me personally, I'm a big target share believer. If you can get open in the NFL and command targets, you earn targets. They're not given to you. Pop Douglas was earning targets last year. So for me personally, and he's kind of the guy I would say isn't the favorite. Like everybody wants Jalynn Polk and everybody's kind of picking up Jalynn Polk. So he's the guy that's kind of like flying under the radar that for me personally, he's the guy that I would want going forward because I think that I just think he's a good separator and he kind of showed it last year, even though they weren't big numbers. In the advanced analytics, he was a good separator.
The only problem I have with Pop Douglas is that he reminds me of like the New England
like version. You said, Wan'Dale.
It's Wan'Dale. It's the same player, bro. It is like Greg Dortch.
I would say Jalynn Polk is kind of like that. Jalynn Polk is not a guy who's going to really get down. He's not a burner. He's going to be a close to line of scrimmage kind of guy as well.
Yeah, but more so in a way that's not like, what I'm saying, you're just throwing bubble screens the whole time to him and a lot of their
Pop Douglas had a big reception last week.
He did. And I hear you. And I just think that, unfortunately, I think it's going to be spread out. But you just know that
that's
one of these guys,
it's too.
One of these guys is going to be his favorites. And the thing is, like, when you play with the second team a lot, you end up finding a guy on the second team that you like. And I'm not a big Jalynn Polk guy at all, but I know Jalynn Polk was playing with the second team to start camp. I think he worked his way up as the camp went on. But I know he was playing with the second team and probably had a chance to establish some chemistry when KJ Osborne and Pop Douglas were playing with the first team. So I think, it's a tough thing because I don't know that any one of these guys becomes more than a flex. It's just there's a strong possibility that somebody becomes playable on this team. And I think Jalynn Polk just offers the most. I think Pop Douglas is probably the easiest flex right now out of them.
Yeah.
But I feel like if there was somebody I was going to take a gamble on, it'd be a week or two of Jalynn Polk. And then, if he misses, we're out on him,
No, I
Kendrick Bourne is also interesting, though, because he's the one that they paid. He's the one that's the better. Like, out of the talent on this team, he's the best talent. So it's an interesting case because there's a possibility where like he's the leading receiver on this team and we're getting him at a discount. I want to say he was the leading receiver 2 years ago before he got hurt. right? Or maybe last season, even before he got hurt, he was the number one receiver on this team. So I think Kendrick Bourne is also a very interesting name. I haven't bought any of them. I haven't picked them up at all, but he's just an interesting name because if they do make him the focal point of the offense, if he is the best receiver, which on the surface, it seems like that. If he's the best receiver coming off this injury, then shit, maybe we might be getting a wide receiver 3 for free.
No love for no BS hero KJ Osborne. Last year, not to throw any shade at no BS, but I always thought the take was really funny. And his preseason takes, he was like, KJ Osborne's going to average at least 9 fantasy points per game. And I'm like, bro, that's not even somebody that you should roster. Like, that's not a good take. Like, what are you saying that? Like, KJ Osborne's
even if he got 9 points a game, it's 9 points a fucking game. Like,
that's horrible. So yeah, I would, the only guys I'd really be interested is Polk. I think Hunter Henry is also kind of interesting just because the tight end position is so bad. And I think that Hunter Henry's a good player. It's just, he's been on this team and it's been so bad. So if Drake May's able to hit, like you said, there's going to be definitely a guy. And I think that it could be Hunter Henry. And once again, the tight end position is just so awful as well that, hey, he could be a guy in a couple weeks.
The one thing I like about Hunter Henry is how are you getting outproduced every other week by Austin Hooper?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. And it's not outproduced is an overstatement because it's 19 yards.
Yeah, it's
28 yards.
It's just hard to judge. That this offense has been ass. Oh my god.
It's terrible, bro. We talked
since
a lot
Tom
about
Brady
the Pats this week. I didn't think we was going to talk this much about the Pats, but obviously
they're in offense, honestly, because Drake May just brings this uncertainty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it brings a little intrigue, a little bit of upside, because even the running back situation right now is a little bit fluid with Rhamondre Stevenson being out this week. But we get Antonio Gibson now, who last week we thought he was going to be the starter because Rhamondre was fumbling. Now he's a starter because Rhamondre's hurt. And it's just kind of this nature of fantasy this season. Like last year, we dealt with the quarterback. It was the injuries to the quarterback. And it feels like this year is the year of the complicated running back, where we're just getting a whole bunch of situations where players are either hurt, depth charts are changing right now pretty early in the fucking season. And we get Antonio Gibson starting here. I would treat him as an RB2 for this week because the pass catching upside. We've seen some big pass catching weeks out of Gibson. And obviously with Drake May starting, you have to protect your quarterback through the run game. So for me, Tyler, I look at this and I look at a situation where you're getting a spot start out of a guy who has a really nice floor. You don't get this very often, even if it's for just 1 week.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. He should see majority of the work. I think that Hasty is a guy. I think it's Hasty behind him.
Michael Hasty?
Yeah, who's in a super, super deep league, sure. But this week, yeah, Antonio Gibson, I would say, is the top 24 play, and largely because you have injuries, you have people on bye, and he's just a guy that guarantee workload. That you're going to get work, and hey, maybe it ends up to just a dud fantasy week. But these are people always get mad when you recommend these types of players and they have dud weeks. But it's it's a process play. The reason why you're going with this kind of guy is because you know that they're going to see work, and the work doesn't always lead to fantasy points because it could be 10 carries for 20 yards. It could be
yes.
and a couple catches for 6 yards, but he could score a touchdown. He could rip one of these off, and it's just how it goes. So yeah, for me personally, I think the workload will be there. He's a top 24 back. He's a guy that I'm okay with starting as an RB2, definitely in my flex for sure. So I like him this week, and we'll see how it goes.
The one difference between Antonio Gibson is we've seen him do it, though. Even over a guy like a Trey Sermon, or you're starting a Ray Davis, we have seen Antonio Gibson be an RB2 level type player. With upside, we thought there was a time where he was going to be the next Christian McCaffrey, was what the coaching staff was saying. And so it's he's produced. We've seen this year he's got the volume catching wise. So you pair that up with 12 carries and 3 catches, that's a 15-touch workload. I think that would be the spot for any RB2. So even if he didn't perform, he had 50 total yards. I think you couldn't be upset with the play because this is the situation that you want versus even Rico Dowdle against Detroit.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think that those two are very similar. If Rico Dowdle had a better matchup, I would probably go with him just because I like that offense a lot more. But yeah, I would say he's right there. And definitely over guy Tank Bigsby for sure, because you know that you're going to get more work and like better quality work than Tank, where Tank's this guy who could end up going out there and have like 5 carries and it goes for 5 yards. And I think this coaching staff is like, all right, let's go back to Travis. And then you see a lot of Travis and Tank kind of falls down. So I do like Tank, but like that's a kind of guy. Or Najee Harris. I'm sorry, I'm not trusting Najee Harris. I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson over.
I'm not there yet. I can't get there yet. I still got him over Antonio Gibson.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh man, come on. You got.
I think I have like 23 and 24, man. It's
right,
like
back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tough spot, man. And I know it's gonna be a tough situation. Like a lot of people watching right now are gonna have a lot of tough decisions. And if you have these decisions in your lineup, just know it can play out a number of different ways. Like, don't be so stressing on these decisions, because just because a person gets 15 touches, we don't know exactly what that looks like on any given weekend. So no, it's not. You're not the only person going through this.